like on the interstate. I know you finally
tune in for some happiness. Tune in for some fun. Tune in late at night or tune in the sun. This is TFM. Get ready to rock. From AM to PM. Come on. Let's talk.
TFM 95.4.
Let's talk.
Live on TFM and the TFM Facebook page. This is the live feed of TTV. Let's talk.
Hello and welcome to the Midday Update. These are the top headlines from our newsroom today. His Majesty reaffirms support to Palestinian people. Oman's real estate sector to see 40% growth. Expats banned from several job positions in the Sultanate. International travelers can check in 4 hours earlier to the departure. Senate offices in Oman welcome return of online services. Sri Lanka to receive first batch of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines on January 27. France registers over 20,000 COVID-19 cases and 230 deaths in just one day. Coronavirus variant detected in UK may be more deadly, warns the Prime Minister. Oman's Al Sohail first at endurance racing. Cup holders Arsenal out of FA Cup while City survive. These were the top headlines for the day. Let's see how the weather condition looks like in the Sultanate in our weather update. Did you know that dirt mixed with wind can make sandstorms, which is called black blizzards? This was the fact for the day. Let's see how the weather looks like in the Sultanate. According to Oman Meteorology, over the coastal areas of Oman Sea, the wind will be northeasterly moderate and fresh along the Arabian Sea coast, while the rest of the Sultanate, it will be northerly to northwesterly, light to moderate. With this, let's see how the weather is in the rest of the governorates. Muscat will be expecting a sandstorm with temperatures between 23 to 16 degrees Celsius. Musandam will also be expecting a sandstorm with temperatures between 22 to 15 degrees Celsius. North Al Batina will also be expecting a sandstorm with temperatures between 23 to 15 degrees Celsius. South Al Batina is also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 23 to 14 degrees Celsius. Al Buraimi also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 26 to 15 degrees Celsius. Ad Dahira is also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 25 to 15 degrees Celsius. Ad Dakhliya is also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 25 to 14 degrees Celsius. North Sharqiya is also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 26 to 14 degrees Celsius. South Sharqiya also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 23 to 17 degrees Celsius. Al Wusta is also expecting sandstorm with temperatures between 27 to 16 degrees Celsius. And Dhofar, which will be sunny today, is expecting weathers between 22 to 10 degrees Celsius. TV, you're watching Midday Update. Now, before getting into the details of the local stories for the day, let's see how the COVID-19 situation looks like in the country today. The Ministry of Health officials has registered 4 deaths during the past 72 hours in the Sultanate today. This has taken the total death cases in Oman to 1,521. In addition to that, the health officials has also announced the registration of 558 new coronavirus cases in Oman today. The total cases in the country have now touched 133,044. The recoveries and total recoveries will also be released shortly. In the meantime, the ministry urged everyone to adhere to social distancing instructions issued by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health. Talking on the same lines of the COVID-19, the Minister of Health in Oman today said since mid-October, the rate of positive cases has dropped in the Sultanate, but it is likely to increase. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al Saidi, said in his speech in front of Shura Council members. He said that the number of infections is likely to increase considering the continuation of the pandemic globally. On the other hand, the use of non-pharmacological inventions such as bans, closure of activities and borders has become a major challenge for states and governments. The last update of the data indicated a significant decrease in the number of infections, deaths and rates of positive results for COVID-19 since mid-October 2020. He continued saying that locally, the number of COVID-19 cases from the beginning of the pandemic to date has reached more than 133,044 confirmed cases, of which 10,685 cases needed admission. 1,521 COVID-19 related deaths were also registered. The minister lastly stressed on the solutions for the next stage and saying that they are limited to strengthening social and institutional preventive measures such as physical distancing, wearing masks and hand hygiene in order to live safely with the pandemic until the vaccination of target groups in the Sultanate is completed according to the established plan. Continuing with our local stories for the day. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has sent a written message to Mahmoud Abbas, who is the President of the State of Palestine, Chairman of the Executive Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization, commonly known as PLO. In his message, His Majesty the Sultan reaffirmed the Sultanate's firm stance towards supporting the Palestinian people and establishment of their independent state with Eastern Jerusalem, known as Al-Quds, as its capital, and the continued Omani efforts for serving the Palestinian cause. The message was handed over by Salim bin Habib al-Amri, the charge d'affaires at the Sultanate's embassy in the state of Palestine, when he met with Majid al-Khaldi, who's the advisor to Palestinian President for Diplomatic Affairs. During the meeting, advisor to Palestinian President for Diplomatic Affairs reaffirmed the keenness of the Palestinian leadership for further enhancement of bilateral relations for the interest of the people of the two countries. He also valued the Sultanate's efforts led by His Majesty the Sultan for the support of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. Now, Oman's real sector is expected to grow by 40% this year, owing to measures by the government making it easier for Omanis and expats to own property. Among these are reducing real estate transaction fees from 5% to 3%, enabling expatriates to own properties in mixed-use residential and commercial buildings, and allowing developers to add extra floors to their building in exchange for a fee, said Hassan Al-Ruqaishi, the head of the Real Estate Development and Construction Committee at the Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He said that with the new financial year having begun for companies and banks in the country, we expect this rate to exceed 40%. For example, in Barqa, after these decisions were made, the value of land rose by up to 1,000 Omani riyals a plot, because these decisions have helped both demand for land and its sale and purchase. We have had instances of people requiring to pay more money towards ministry fees than they receive from property sales to another person. A person, for example, might receive a profit of 100 Omani riyals from his property sale, but he has to pay 180 Omani riyals in ministry fees. The fees increase in proportion to the price at which the property is sold, Al-Ruqaishi said, also adding that the decision to raise real estate fees to 5% began in 2016, and this had a great impact on real estate sales. As a result, revenues to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning decreased as well. Now, real estate fees were reduced after discussions between real estate sector representatives and the ministry, bringing them back to pre-2016 levels. Under the previously existing fee structure, the property speculation market had reached a stagnation rate of 70%, while a 30% stagnation was seen in property purchases deemed necessary. Explaining the employment opportunities the real estate sector provides for people in the country, Al-Ruqaishi said it could generate work for 30% of Omanis of working age. Talking on the same lines of the country and the growth, a total of 14% increase in the number of small and medium enterprises were also recorded in the Sultanate in 2020, the National Center for Statistics and Information has stated. The National Center for Statistics and Information said in an online statement that the number of small and medium enterprises registered with the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Authority in 2020 increased by 14% to reach 48,669 by the end of last December, compared to 42,698 enterprises at the end of December 2019. This morning, the Ministry of Labour has issued a decision to reserve a number of professions in the private sector, including finance and accounting professions, for Omani nationals only. Decision 8/2021 regulates the practice of some professions and activities, stipulating as follows. Number 1, financial and administrative professions in insurance companies and companies operating in insurance brokerage activities. Number 2, the professions of selling, accounting, money exchange, administration, and arranging goods in the shops operating in malls. Number 3, account auditing professions in car agencies. 4, all professions selling new and used vehicles. 5, all accounting professions in the activities of selling new and used vehicles in car agencies. Lastly, number 6, the activity of selling spare parts for new vehicles affiliated with car agencies. The second article of the decision states non-Omani workforce licenses and work practice licenses issued for the professions and activities specified in Article 1 shall be valid until their expiry date. The ministry also added that the decision shall take effect 6 months after the date of publication of the decision on January 20th, 2021. Now, travelers leaving from the Sultanate of Oman can check in 4 hours before their scheduled departure, Oman Air has announced. A statement by the airline said, when traveling from Muscat International Airport to international destinations, you can check in 4 hours before your scheduled departure time. Guests must also take into account to check in at least 90 minutes before departure, regardless of whether or not they have check-in baggage. Now, Sanad offices in the Sultanate of Oman that provide essential government services to people in the country have welcomed the resumption of online services that will help them assist customers faster. The Ministry of Labour needed to temporarily halt some online services owing to a malfunction on the network. However, services will now be gradually restored, with the government confirming that no data has been lost or compromised while efforts were made to bring them back online. The electronic services on the Ministry of Labour website began to gradually return after noon on Saturday after they had been unavailable for about 3 weeks, said Ahmed Al-Junaibi, the owner of a Sanad office in Wilayat Dukum in the Central Wusta Governorate. These services usually include a number of facilities used for expatriate workers, including the renewal of work cards, transfer of sponsorship while changing companies, name change services, provisions for recruitment of new non-Omani manpower, whether for an individual employer or a company, filling a missing persons report for absconding workers, and departure services foreign workers used before leaving the country. Al-Junaibi admitted that the services were still very slow, but he hoped normal service would resume over time. He said that it is difficult for customers to pay their charges electronically because sometimes the payment does not go through, but the money is still deducted from him during the transaction. The renewal of resident cards costs 316 Omani riyals, which is a large sum to recover in case it is lost. On other occasions, we are not able to process payments at all, while in other cases, transactions take very long to complete. Al-Junaibi asked the government authorities such as the Ministry of Labour and Royal Oman Police to waive the late fees associated with delayed renewal of expatriate documents owing to the problems they face. He said that delaying the renewal of a labour card by even a month, for example, will cost the employer 40 Omani riyals, owing to a 10 Omani riyals fine from the Ministry of Labour, and a 30 Omani Riyal fine from Royal Oman Police. Applications cannot be submitted to the Royal Oman Police before they are processed by the ministry. The employee may have chosen to renew his labor card a month ago, but he would not have been able to do so because of the faults in the electronic services. He continued saying that, likewise, we also request an extension for the transfer of employment statuses of expat workers. The deadline for this was previously January 6, 2021, which was later extended to January 21, 2021, but the time during which these faults were present coincided with the extension provided. The Ministry of Labour did acknowledge the difficulties the lack of online services caused. In a statement, the ministry said, apologized to all beneficiaries of the ministry's services for the interruption that occurred due to the technical failure that negatively affected their work and led to a delay in completing their transactions. The ministry will take this delay into account and endeavour to complete the necessary transactions as soon as possible. This was all from our local desk for the day, but it's time for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned as we have more updates coming your way from International Desk.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
It's about time we kicked COVID-19 out of our lives. Join us on TTV Outline every Monday and let us learn how to fight COVID together. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update, now from our international desk. Sri Lankan President Rajapaksa said on Saturday that the first batch of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that is being manufactured in India was expected to arrive in Sri Lanka on January 27th. Sri Lanka will be receiving 600,000 vials of doses with the first vaccine consignment. The president, speaking at the function in Kalutara in western Sri Lanka, said the COVID-19 jabs will be first administered to medical officers, public health inspectors, and other health sector workers who are on the front line of coronavirus outbreak in the country. Triforce's personnel who work closely with medical staff and people who are more vulnerable to the virus will be given the jabs subsequently, the president added. Meanwhile, COVID-19 vaccination trials got underway in Sri Lanka on Saturday, the health ministry said, in order to prepare for the vaccination drive once it arrives here next week. Deputy Director General of Health Services in Sri Lanka, Dr. Hemanta Herath, said this trial will help health officials to get an idea as to how the vaccination should be administered and also identify the discrepancies and shortcomings in the process. This will also give officials the idea to determine the number of vaccines that could be given to the recipients within an hour or a day, Dr. Herath said. Now, France on Saturday reported 23,924 new COVID-19 infection in a 24-hour span, raising the country's cumulative number of confirmed cases to 3,035,181, official data showed. In the 24 hours, a further 230 people had succumbed to the disease in France, bringing the total death toll to 72,877. Currently, 25,900 COVID-19 patients are receiving treatment in hospitals, representing a one-day drop of 8. Of those hospitalized, 2,896 need life support, down by 6 in one day. So far, 1 million people in France have received anti-coronavirus vaccine jab, according to the health ministry. The government targets to vaccinate 1.4 million vulnerable people and frontline health workers by the end of January before extending the vaccination to nearly half of the country's 67 million population as of late May. As the world is struggling to contain the pandemic, vaccination is underway in France and other countries with the already authorized COVID-19 vaccines. The coronavirus variant first detected in Britain may be more deadly than the older virus strain, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned recently. There is some evidence that the new variant may be associated with a higher degree of mortality, Johnson said at a Downing Street news conference. The new strain of coronavirus, first identified in Kent in England, is thought to be up to 70% more transmissible. According to the British government's chief scientific advisor Patrick Vallance, early evidence suggests the difference is between 10 deaths in 1,000 infected with the older variant to 13 or 14 in 1,000 infected with the new variant. However, Johnson said that the current vaccines are still effective against the new variant. All current evidence continues to show that the current vaccines remain effective against the old coronavirus variant and this new one, he said. Johnson said that the National Health Service is under significant pressure, urging the public to continue to follow the restriction rules. The Prime Minister noted that there are more than 38,000 people in hospital, 78% higher than there were at peak at the first wave, and more than 4,600 people have been hospitalized in the last 24 hours. Also joining Johnson for the press briefing, Chris Whitty, England's chief medical officer, said the most recent data showed that there has been a turning of a corner on the positivity rates amid lockdown. However, he said the number of deaths is steadily increasing, which may go on for some days to come due to the delay of hospitalization. England is currently under the third national lockdown since the outbreak of the pandemic in the country. Similar restriction measures are also in place in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned for more updates from our sports desk.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
It's about time we kicked COVID-19 out of our lives. Join us on TTV Outline every Monday and let us learn how to fight COVID together. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update. And now from a sports desk. Horse Al Sohail for owner and trainer Mohammed bin Salah Al Balushi and horse rider Ahmed bin Saleh Al Balushi has bagged the first place in the endurance race competition organized by Oman Equestrian Federation at Al Muhammad Village for endurance racing in the Vilayat of Barqa. The competition was organized for 100 kilometers with the participation of 16 horses. The race comprised 3 stages, the first for 40 kilometers, the second for 35 kilometers, and third for 25 kilometers. There were no major upsets in the 4th round of the FA Cup on Saturday, as all of the Premier League sides qualified against lower league oppositions, although reigning FA Cup champions Arsenal were knocked out of the tournament and Manchester City had to suffer against the side from 3 leagues below them. The only goal of the game between Southampton and Arsenal came when Arsenal defender Gabriel diverted a low cross into his own net, but Southampton deserved the win after they bullied Mikel Arteta's side for most of the game. Manchester City was 9 minutes from falling victims to one of the biggest upsets in recent seasons before a 3-goal burst in the last 9 minutes saw them through against League 2, 4th Division. The home side made good use of long throws into the heart of the City penalty area, and as a result of one of those, Alfie May was able to put them ahead in the 59th minute. Sheffield United and Brighton had both made into the next round, although Plymouth gave Sheffield some nervous moments with a camera 75th minute goal after Chris Basham and Billy Sharp had put Sheffield 2-0 ahead. West Ham had no such problems as they cruised past Rovers League 1 4-0 thanks to goals from Pablo Andri, the unfortunate Rovers captain Andy Butler, and Afolayan. Elsewhere, Bristol City won 3-0 away to Millwall, while Swansea City thrashed Nottingham Forest 5-1 and Barnsley beat Championship leaders Norwich City 1-0. With this story, we have come to the end of the episode for today, but stay tuned as we'll be back again tomorrow with more updates and latest news your way. Keep watching TTV.
You've just heard the live feed from the TTV studios on TFM 95.4. Let's talk.